Hey, what's up guys? Back again with another video in the Spigot series. This episode we're going to be adding a command manager to this QuarterMaster plugin that I've been working on, along with some configuration. So finally we could add some configuration as well. But let's do the first thing. Let's do the command manager for this. And if you don't know what a command manager is, then just watch my last episode, episode 52. And that shows you how to make a command manager, which is basically an easy system for managing subcommands for a command, okay? So let's go ahead and set that up. So we'll make a sub package right here. We'll call it subcommands, if I can type it correctly. And now let's set up the subcommand abstract class. That's the second easiest thing to do. So subcommand, there we go. And that's going to be a public abstract class. So now we just need to establish the definitions for the methods here that we have. So public abstract string get name. So we're only defining the name of the method and its return type, but not providing the implementation for it. So that's important because it's an abstract class. That's what the sub classes of this class will be doing, is providing the implementation. So public abstract string get description, public abstract string get syntax, and finally we'll do public abstract void perform, which is just the method that performs the command itself. So we'll do p for player and string args. Alright, there we go. And now we can go to we can move both of our subcommands into the subcommands package. So just click refactor. There we go. And now let's go into these subcommands here and do, instead of this, we're going to do extends subcommand, just like that. And then now hover over this and click this, click OK. And now it adds all these things for us. So return. And so this subcommand, this is going to be for the list command, which is going to be the command that opens up basically the list for all of your different locks that you have. So we could just call this the let's think here. We'll call this the manager command. That's a better name, or manager. So that's the name of the subcommand. But let's rename this to manager command, because that makes more sense. So you can open up the command, the lock manager, so that it shows all of your locks. Alright, so manager command. And now let's rename all of this. So description, we can say manager locks. That's pretty self-explanatory. And then syntax, we'll do /qm manager, right? Or should we do manage? /qm manage. Let's do manage. That makes more sense, I think. So that's going to allow you to manage your locks. And then we just need to rename that one to manage also. And then finally we have the perform method here, which is going to be the code. So we'll just take all of this code right here and then put it right down here. And we don't need this anymore, the sender instance of player, since our command manager class itself is going to handle that for us before it performs the subcommand. And then we can go up here and just delete all of this. So now we have the manager command, extend subcommand, so now it's all set up for us, and this is going to be the code for the command. And let's go to lock command now, which is going to be, of course, the command that allows you to lock blocks. So extends subcommand. There we go. And we want to do hover over this, implement the methods, and put it all the way down here. So let's make some space right there. And let's rename this to lock. So that would be /qm lock. Then we need a description. So let's think, for description we'll say, actually let's just call it something like allows you to lock a block. That's a better explanation, I think. For the syntax we'll do /qm lock. Pretty easy. And now we can go back up to here and copy all of the code for this. Starting from here, Control X to cut that. Go here, Control V to paste it. And that should work without any issues. Now we can delete this here. And there we go. So now we can get rid of all this stuff. We don't need that anymore. And that's both of the locks that we have, the subcommands that we have. So those should be a setup now. So now we just need to make our actual subcommand class itself. So inside of the commands package, we'll do new class We'll call it command manager. And this will implement command executor. And we'll just implement this method here. Okay, turn true. Alright, so if sender instance of player, then we want to do something like if args.length is greater than 0, meaning there's more than one argument, then we want to see what that argument is, so see what the subcommand is. So we can do a for loop here to loop through all of them. So int I is equal to 0, I is less than, and we need to actually make a subcommand array here. So we'll do array list subcommand subcommands is equal to a new array list. That's pretty easy. So now we just need the constructor for this class, so we could easily just do code to generate constructor, okay. And now, no, we don't want to do that. We just want to do this dot subcommands dot add, and then add all of our individual subcommands. So we have lock command first, so we'll do new lock command. So that adds that command, and this dot subcommands dot add new manager command. All right, and now we'll finally just go down here and make the getter method for that, or here rather. So that would be private, or we can make it public. Public, we want to return the array list, so public array list subcommand get subcommands, and just return this dot subcommands. There we go. That should do that for us. And now we can finally go here and do get subcommands. Let's rename this to capital C, by the way. That just looks better. There we go. So I is less than get subcommands dot size, so we can get the amount of subcommands, and then I++, so we can loop through that. And so for each iteration of this loop, we want to see if args1, so for the first argument, dot equals ignore case, get subcommands dot get I for the one that we're on, dot get name. Okay, and if you don't know what this is doing, then just watch the last episode where I showed you how to make one of these. And so if it does match, what we want to do is perform it. So get subcommands dot get I, and then we'll do dot perform, pass in p for player. We actually need to make a player thing here. So player p is equal to player sender. Now we can pass in p with no problems, and now we just pass in arguments as well, so that the subcommand has access to the arguments and the player. Alright, so that should be it for the command manager. Now we just need to go back into our main here and register it. So on the on enable, we can just get rid of these two things here. We don't need to register these subcommands anymore. We can just get rid of those, and now we just need to register the command manager class itself. So get command, we'll call it QuarterMaster. And the reason I'm calling it QuarterMaster and not /qm is because we're going to make an alias inside of the plugin.yml in a second here. So just wait a second for that. Let's just finish registering this. So QuarterMaster.executor new command manager. There we go. So that's going to establish that for us. So that should be easy, all done, easy peasy. So now we can delete these, replace it with QuarterMaster, and description will say manage and use the QuarterMaster plugin. And then, like I said, we're going to be using alias so that they can also do /qm, and if they don't want to do /QuarterMaster, to make it easier. So to make an alias, you just do aliases, and then it basically just needs an array. So we could make an array here, and the first, we only want one thing, so we're just going to put qm by itself, just like that. And that's going to establish the alias for us, okay? So that should set all of that for us up. We got the command manager here with our subcommands, and we registered it, so that should be it. And actually, I want to add one more subcommand. We're going to call it the help command, which is going to be a command to basically list all of the different commands that you can use for the plugin. So, for example, kind of like what I did last episode, where if they don't provide a subcommand, it's going to tell them all the different subcommands they can use for the plugin. So that's what we're going to basically do for this. So extends subcommand. So let's establish all of these. And we'll leave it for now so that we can test the plugin out first to see if these other ones work first, but then we'll come back and finish this one in a second. So before we compile our plugin, what I want to do is go to the pom.xml and show you how to update it. So currently it's 1.14.4 still, but 1.15.1 has come out for Minecraft. So to update it, you could simply go to here and do 1.15.1. And the reason I know this is going to work is because 1.15.1 Spigot has officially been released, so that is going to work. So it's going to basically load everything from the Spigot repository automatically for you, and you should be good to go. So once that's done loading, you can open up Maven here on the side and start running it. So just click the compile button right here or whatever, and I'll see you in the server. Alrighty then, I'm back on the server. So we'll do /pl, and it says QuarterMaster YouTube, so I have my plugin here unloaded onto the server. And yeah, so let's do /qm, and nothing happens. And the reason is because we haven't told it to do anything when we don't provide any arguments at all, but we'll be fixing that in a second. But for now, if we do /qm manage, it should open up our list of locks, and it says an internal error has occurred while attempting to perform this command. Perfect. Let's see why that is. It says caused by Java-lang array index out of bounds exception 1 and command manager Java line 31. So let's go to command manager line 31. That will be right here. So args1. Oh, I'm stupid. That would be args0. So if we're trying to access the subcommand, and let's say that we have a command here, so /qm subcommand, and then they have another argument right here, args2, whatever. We had it as arg1 before, but arg1 would be this one, not the subcommand, because it's 0 and then 1, right? 0 based, it's an array. So we would have to put 0 right here. I should have caught that, but, and let's try doing the commands again. So /qm manage, and perfect, we get our lock thingy here. It says your locks, chest lock, date created November 14th, that was a long time ago. Let's just get rid of this one, start from fresh. So let's do /qm manage. Okay, it's empty. That's interesting. We should make it say like you have no locks when it's empty. We'll do that, we'll fix that in a second. But let's actually try adding a lock now by using the other subcommand. So /qm lock, and boom, it says lock detected, lock chest question mark, and we'll say no. And now we'll do /lock and we'll say yes this time. And now to see our locks, we'll do /qm manage, and we have our lock right here. Cool. And we could add other people to it, stuff like that. This all works. But let's say it's the user's first time using, this plugin, right? They're gonna want to know how to use the plugin, like so they could usually just do /qm help maybe, but we don't have a command for that, or maybe just /qm by itself would tell you all the different commands. So that's why I want to make the help command, the help subcommand right here. That's what that's going to be for. Okay, so let's set that up. So we're going to do help right here. So help, and then for description we'll say show all of the commands for QuarterMaster. There we go. So get syntax /qm help, and then for perform, all we got to do is basically output some stuff to the chat. Telling the user what the subcommands are. Should be easy. So let's do p.send message, and let's make it like a color. So chat color dot, and dark red should be good. Dark red. I'm not good with coloring. Like usually whenever I use coloring it looks bad, but we'll give it a try. Alright, so I got it typed out here. So it's just going to be chat color dark red, chat color blue, and bold, and it's going to say QuarterMaster commands at the top. And then under that, what we want to do is loop through all of the different commands that we have and their descriptions and their syntaxes. So just a for loop here, int I is equal to 0, I is less than, and we need to somehow get we need to run this method here, but this is not a static method. So what we need to do is declare a object of command manager. So that is easy enough. So we can just go to here and just do command manager. Command manager, we'll call it command manager, that's fine, is equal to new command manager. And that should be all we have to do. So now we can go down here and do command manager dot get subcommands dot size, and then I++ to loop through that. And then each time they loop, we want to do p.send message chat color dot yellow. I think that's a good color. And we'll say, let's get the syntax of the command. So command manager dot get subcommands dot get I dot get syntax, and then we'll add a little divider right there, and then we'll do chat color gray. I hope this turns out nice. So chat color gray, and we'll do, let's actually make this italicized also. So italic. And then right here, all we gotta do is say command manager dot get subcommands dot get I dot get description, so we can get the description of the command so they know what the command does. So the first thing is going to be the usage for the syntax, and then it's going to be what the command does basically for each of the commands. And then finally at the bottom we'll just have a closing divider here, so p.send message, and that should look nice. So let's go back to command manager so we can register this. So this.subcommands.add new help command, and then besides using /qm space help, let's also put it down here, so when they do /qm by itself, it also runs this subcommand here. But let's put a semicolon right there. So if args.length is greater than 0, then do this, where it checks the subcommand. But if it's not greater than 0, else if args.length is 0, then what we want to do is tell them all the different commands they can use. So we'll just do help command. Help is equal to new help command. Oops, help command. And then we could do help.perform to perform the command, and just pass in args just like that. So that's going to do exactly what we want it to do, hopefully. So let's test this out in the server now. So I'll run this Maven stuff here, and I'll see you in the server. Alright, I'm back now. So I did /reload, so everything should be up to date. And now let's do /qm by itself, and boom, we get QuarterMaster commands, and it shows all of our commands automatically, which is really cool. So every time we add a command to this plugin and update the plugin, it's going to be able to automatically add the new command to this list here. But for some reason there's no coloring at the bottom here, so let's try and fix that real quick. So I'll go back to help command, and yeah, we forgot to fix the color here, so chat color dark red. There we go. So I should fix that. But anyway, let's try testing out /qm help, and it does the same thing. Let's also run the other commands to see if they still work. So we'll do /qm lock, and it doesn't say anything. That's something we need to add also. We need to make it so that it says this is not a block that you can lock or something like that. But if we had a chest here, it should still work for that. So /qm lock, and we click yes, and then we'll do /qm manage, and we have both of our locks now. Easy peasy. And so let's delete this one. And then now if you open this, it doesn't say anything. But if we go back to the one over here, this one, I think this is locked. No, not that one. It says you own this chest, so that still works also. But anyway, that's it for the command manager aspect of this plugin. Now let's move on to the configuration part of this plugin, so we can add some configuration and stuff. That's always important, so that the server owner can customize how they want to use the plugin. Let's think about what we want to add. We should add, most importantly, a way for the server owner to choose what blocks they want to be lockable. So not just the chest, but all types of blocks like doors, barrels and stuff like that. I think that's a block now, and a bunch of stuff like trap chests. So they can add all of that to the configuration if they want it to be locked. And also we want to add, I think that's it. Maybe we can allow the user to customize the titles for the menu. I guess that could work. But that's, and also maybe we can set a max of how many locks one player can have. That could be important also. So let's try implementing all of that. So we'll go back to QuarterMaster YouTube, and we need to make a config.yml file first of all. So config.yml. So I actually think the easiest thing would be to add the MongoDB connection string. So if we go back to our main class here, we have this connection string that we use to connect to the database. And so, of course, we don't want everyone who uses this plugin to be using my connection string. So we should make this customizable in the config so they can paste their own. So let's add that up here. So we'll say something like MongoDB connection. And I'll add some stuff there. And we'll say connection string. And then inside of single quotes, because it's a string, we'll actually just have our connection string. So they will put theirs in there, but for now we'll just put ours in here. And then wait, what the heck? There we go. So new line. And now what we want to do is go back to here and try and get and replace this. So before we do that, we actually just need to set up our load the configuration like we always do. So setup config, and we'll say get config config.options.copy defaults, and then save default config. And now we have that, we can go and delete this and do get config.get string, and then get string. So the string name is going to be connection string, so that's what we're going to put inside of here. So connection dash string. So it should be able to take the connection string from the config and then put it into here so that they can connect to the database for their plugin. But let's say that they don't put a a connection string inside of here. We should probably test that to make sure that they actually put one before we do anything else. So we'll do let's just make an if statement here. So we'll say get config.get string connection string, and we could do dot is empty. So that's going to let us know if the connection string is empty, obviously, if the string itself is empty. So that so if it is empty, what we want to do is just tell the user in the console to provide a connection string. So we'll say something like this. So QM, you need to specify a Mongo. I don't think I spelled that right. Specify. I think I did. MongoDB connection string in the config.yml. And then if the connection string is not empty, then we can just copy this, easy peasy, and put it into there. And later on, what we want to do is basically terminate the rest of the plugin from loading, so that they cannot use the rest of the plugin until they provide a valid connection string. And we should also use MongoDB to test whether that connection string is valid before we do anything else. But we'll do that later on, and we'll save that for later. But at least we have this safeguard now, I guess. And so that's good. That's a good piece of configuration that we can add. And I think the easiest next thing that we could do is make it so that the user can provide what blocks they want to be lockable. So we'll just call this lockable-blocks. And this is going to be a list, so we could have a list here. So it will be a list of strings. So we'll have one string here, and then they can press enter to make a new line and provide another string, as many as they want pretty much, right? And so for each of these strings, we want the user to be able to somehow provide the block that they want to be lockable. And we have to think about, how do we want this to work? Do we want to provide do we want them to provide a lock ID? Do we want them to provide a material name? Those are the questions we need to figure out. So let's think about first how we would implement this. So if we go to our lockutils class here, we can see that we have this little variable here inside of the JSON object. We have this little variable thing here, and on the other side of the variable it says chest. So it's always going to be chest no matter what. But what we want to do is make it so that the type here will be dependent on whatever block they're actually using. So we can basically just do this. So block dot, and then we want to get the type. So that's going to return the material object, and then we can get the material as a string by doing toString. So what this is going to do, let's say this is a chest, what it's going to do is return chest. That's just the name of the material. And you can find all of the names for materials. Now let me get the link real quick. You can find it right here. And I'll leave the link for this in the description below. But this is going to be a full list of all the different material names for Spigot. So you can use any of these blocks, basically. And this is how we're going to allow the user to specify the blocks that they want to be lockable. They're just going to type the name into the configuration. We're going to get these names and then check them, basically. So we're going to copy this, and then we're going to go back to here, and we're going to go to config.yml, and we'll say above that, provide a material name for the blocks you want to be lockable. Okay, and so if we want a chest to be lockable, that's just going to obviously be chest, but let's see what else we can add. If we go back to here, we can lock, let's maybe add an acacia door. So if we want to add an acacia door, then all we got to do is find that. So acacia_door. So we could just do that. So acacia_door, like that. And now it's going to be lockable. So that's not all we have to do. We need to go back here first of all and finish this. So there we go. And so whenever the lock is being created and we store it in the database, we're also going to be storing the material name of the block that we're locking. So before we actually allow the user to lock a block, to call this method here, we need to go to the lock command and basically check and see which block they're trying to lock. And we're already doing that. We're saying if target.getType.equals material.chest, then you can lock it, right? But we want to expand this to be lockable, not just for chest, but to anything that's on this list here, okay? So the easiest way to do that would be to loop through this entire list here and see if the block that they're, if the material of the block that they're clicking on or trying to lock right here with the command is equal to one of the materials on the list here. So if it is equal to one of those, then you could lock it, but if it's not, then you're just not going to be able to lock it. So we need to loop through it basically. So we'll make a for loop here. So for int I is equal to 0, I is less than, and we want to get the actual list. So let's think about how we can do that. Well, let's think here. We should maybe make a method here in our lock utils that allows us to get an array list of all of the locks basically automatically. That's going to be easy for us. So it's basically, this is going to be able to easily grab the locks from the config and put it into an array list automatically. That would be helpful. So we'll just make a public static method here, and we're going to return a list string of all of the different things that we want to be able to lock. So we're going to call this import string list, by the way. So we're going to call this get lockable blocks because that's exactly what we're getting, and we need to get this from the config. So we could do QuarterMaster YouTube.get plugin .get config, and then we could access the config that way. So that's good that we can access the configuration, but we need to now get the list from here somehow. So let's go back to here and see how we can do that. So get config.get, and let's look at all these different methods we have. So I see one for get integer list, so there has to be one for string list probably. So let's try searching. So get string list. Oh, perfect. We get string list, and we just got to provide the name of that. So the path. So that would be the names of lockable-blocks. Lockable-blocks. And so that's going to return, if we do Control Q on that, that's going to return a list. Perfect. And so we just need to put this into a list object, obviously. So we'll make a new list here. So list of strings, since that's what it's returning. We'll call it lockable underscore blocks is equal to QuarterMaster.getPlugin.getConfig.getStringList lockable blocks. And we have a little issue here. Oops, let's fix this. Semicolon. We have a little issue here. It says expected 1 arguments but found none. So let's see Control P what the argument is. Oh, okay, that's weird. That shouldn't come to here. Let's go back to our main here. We should have the get plugin method. Oh, we don't. Okay, yeah, okay, so that makes sense. So we're just gonna make a method here called get plugin, which is gonna return an instance of this class here, so that we can access the plugin, like the configuration and all that. So public static. So we want to provide an instance of this plugin, so it would just be QuarterMaster YouTube, which is the class itself, and then we'll call it get plugin. And now we need to return the instance of the plugin. So let's go back up to here and make a plugin variable. So we'll call it private static QuarterMaster YouTube plugin. Then we just need to initialize this whenever we start up the plugin. So right here we'll just do plugin is equal to this. Therefore we can go down here now and do return plugin, just like that. And we've done this before, so if you're confused of what I'm doing, just watch my other videos. And so now that we have this get plugin method here, we can go back to lock utils, and this error should go away. And so this should also now return lockable blocks, but we need to do return lockable blocks. There we go. So now we have a special method that returns a list of all the blocks that we can lock. We can go back to lock command and use that while looping. So we could do lock utils dot get lockable blocks dot size I++. Now inside of here, let's move all of this code into here, and instead of checking to see if the one that they clicked on is equal to the chest, let's see if it's equal to one of the materials that we have inside of this get lockable blocks thingy here. So we'll do lock utils dot get lockable blocks dot get I for whatever iteration of the loop that we're on. So again, if one of the locks that they did the command on, /qm lock is equal to one of the locks that we have in the config, then we're going to allow them to lock that block. So instead of saying you already own this chest, it's locked, we'll say you already own this lock. And then instead of that chest is already locked, we'll say that block is already locked. So we're not going to discriminate, basically. So it will say also, would you like to lock this chest? We'll say, would you like to lock this block? Okay. And that should be a good fix for that. That should add that feature for us with no problems. And let me just add a full list here. I'll be right back. Alright, so I just added a full list of all the different blocks that they might want to be locking. There's of course many more that they can add, but this is just some of the basics. So like a chest, a trap chest, a furnace, a regular furnace, a hopper, ender chest, birch door, acacia door, all that stuff. And then you can add as many as they want pretty much, right? And so I think that's it for that feature. I mean, basically, let's think about this. So whenever they do /qm lock, it's going to take them to this here. It's going to perform it, and it's going to take the the block that they're looking at, and they're going to store it into this target thing here. And then what it's going to do is basically loop through all of the blocks from this list here and see if any of these names here for the material names is equal to the material name for the block that we're trying to lock. And if it is, then we'll lock it. Okay, that should work, easy peasy. And let's test it out actually. Let's just run this and I'll see you in the server so we can give it a try. Okay, so I'm reloading now. And let's try locking something. So one of the things that I have in the config, wait, let's check the config for the plugin here. Okay, cool, we have it. And boom, we have everything, that's good. So let's check, let's try doing a hopper maybe. That's an easy one, so let's add a hopper to our inventory here. Let's try locking this hopper. So we'll put it down, and we'll do /qm lock. And nothing happened. No errors. Okay, so I think I found the issue. So if we go back to here, basically when we do get type, we know that get type, we do control Q here, it says that get type returns a material object, but we're basically doing equals to see if it's equal to a string, right? Because this list here that this is returning is a list of strings, so it doesn't make sense to see if a string is equal to a material. So basically let's take this string here and convert it back to a material, and then we could basically see if those are equal. So the easy way to do that is just to do material.value of string, provide the string, and it's basically I'm going to convert this material string back into a material object so that we can see if that material object is the same object as we have here for this block. Okay, so that should work now. So let's run this and see if it actually works. Actually, before we do that, let's go down here and we'll do else if p dot get target block exact 5 is equal to null. So if basically if they do /qm lock and there's nothing, if it doesn't return anything, if they're not able to obtain a block or something like that, then what we'll do is we'll say p dot send message look at something nearby, because it's outside of the range of 5 blocks, so it's unable to get anything, so it's going to return null. So if that happens, then we'll say that, and we'll give it a color of gray. Okay. Oh, we added this to the wrong place. We put this on the for loop, so we'll just go down to this one and put it right there. That's better. And now I'll see you in the server. Alright, I'm back in the server now, so let's do /qm lock, and it says look at something nearby, so that also works. But if we do it right here, nothing is said, because sand is not a block that we can lock, but at the same time we are looking at something within 5 blocks, so we still need to add that feature, but at least the other one works. But now let's do /qm lock to this hopper here, and boom, it says would you like to lock this block, so it's able to recognize that this is a lockable block, and we can say either no or yes. So it says creating a new lock, so hopefully this worked. So let's do /lock or /qm manage now to see if that lock has been added, and it has, I think. So it says chest lock, but this is not a chest lock, because basically if we go back to here, let's think, if we go to where that is displayed, so that would be in the menu listeners here, or no, that would be lock menu system. We need to find, let's go to the top here, so that would be in this menu here. basically it's going to say chest lock every time, right? Because it's not able to grab the data from the database and figure out what type of lock it is. So it's only going to say chest lock, and it's displaying a chest. It's displaying a chest right here because of the same reason. It's told to use a material chest, not anything else. So what we should do is basically somehow grab the data from the database, because the database has this now. If we go to lock utils, the database will be storing the type of the lock. So if we grab that from the database, we should be able to use that to basically display the item of whatever we just locked. So instead of displaying a chest right here, we would display a hopper. That shouldn't be too hard, so let's go back to our lock menu system here. And instead of doing chest lock every time, what we want to do is grab the material name from the type from the document. So if we go again back to lock utils, we need to get this basically. So to do that, let's get rid of this out of my face. Get rid of this one also. So we have the document here, so all we got to do is access the document to grab the data from it. So document.getString, so it returns a string. So pass in type, so it's going to return the material type from that string. So if this is a hopper, if it's a hopper in the database, it should be able to grab that from the database and say hopper, and we'll add a space here and say hopper lock, like that. Okay, that should work, and that'll be in green. And then now we need to set the item. So the item currently is going to be a chest every time. So we can basically do what we did a second ago. We can do material.value of, and then document.getString type, just like that. And that should basically take the type of the material name from the database and convert it into a material object, so that we can create this item stack right here. And that should be it for that, I think. Those are the two things that we just need to add for that. So let's see how this looks on the server. Alright, so I'm on the server now. So if we do /q and manage, it now should show a hopper. It says internal error occurred while attempting to perform this command. Okay, I know why that is. Let me just pull up the database real quick. Alright, so I'm loading my documents for the QuarterMaster plugin real quick so that I could show you the issue. But basically the issue is that the first lock that we have here, for the type, it says chest in lowercase letters, but the actual material name would be all in uppercase letters. So the easy solution to fix this would just be to delete this so that it will be removed. Delete, there we go. Deleting document. Okay, cool. So now it's updating the database. So we'll do /q and manage now, and now we have it without any issues. It says hopper lock, and now we have a hopper. So that's really cool. Now it's able to fluidly recognize what things that you want to lock and store that into the database. And then whenever you want to retrieve the data, it's able to recognize what you just locked. Alright, so this is a pretty long episode by now, so I think we're going to be done for now because we added so much already, and then we set all of this up. So next episode we'll continue what we started with and finish off the config.yml, and we'll hopefully move on to permissions and some other small features that we can finish off. And then we'll move on to other stuff in the Spigot series once we finally finish the QuarterMaster plugin. But yeah, that's about it for QuarterMaster. If you want to see anything specific in this plugin, then just let me know, and I'll maybe think about adding the feature if it's a good idea. You can join our Discord server. There's a Discord link to join in the description below, so check it out. And you can join in the Discord server, ask questions there for help if you need help. You could, get some friends, hang out with us, leave suggestions there if you want to. Anything you want to do, so just join our Discord server. It's a big community. So I will also leave all of the code for today's episode in the description below, so you could check it out in case you want to see how I did this plugin. So I'll leave all of the code in there for you to check out. And that's about it. So if you like this video, leave a like if you want to see more, subscribe, and peace.